Hi, I'm Harmony and I'm with Harmony Stitches, and this is my very first YouTube video, and I am so appreciative that you stopped by to watch my video and see what I am working on and to listen to what I have to say about knitting, crocheting, and cross stitch. I'm going to go over all of my WIPs in all three areas. Hopefully it doesn't take that long, and then I'll show you what I'm currently working on and some finishes that I have done recently, and I have a knitting and some cross stitching. So why don't we just go ahead and get started. In knitting, I have this WIP. It's called the Nordic, the Patterns is by Patterns. It's Nordic knit pullover, and it's a sweater, and it's stranding work. So I have this dark gray charcoal and this nice purple pink. And this is a WIP because I got it all finished and I put it on and the yoke was horrible. I just about cried. So other people were having the same issue, and one posted some suggestions of how she made hers workable and got it to fit properly. So I just have to get that taken care of because it probably would only take me a couple hours, but this is my first one. Oh, and it has it on the sleeves and down on the bottom right after the ribbing. So that's one of my knitting. Another is the big comfy sweater. And this is, you can find it on the Yarn Inspirations website for free. It's made in a back panel and a front panel, and then you sew up the seams. So I have one panel done, and I decided to do color blocking. So I started with black, yellow, blue, go back to yellow and black. And for this one, I decided to use Caron Simply Soft. So all these colors are in the Caron Simply Soft. And then I did start on the second panel. Oops, sorry, I'm connected here. I did start on the second panel. That's the inside. And I'm probably about halfway through. I just have to finish I think I'm finished with the blue. I have to do another yellow and go back up to the black to finish it off. I'm almost finished with this one too. It wouldn't take me but a week to get that done as well if I just buckled down and got to it. This is my oldest knitting WIP right here. Oh, I'm tangled again, sorry. This is a poncho. It's also by Yarn Inspirations for free. It's called Serena, and I'm using a different yarn than what's called for. I am using Lion Brand Textures. And I think I forgot to turn the camera around, so that's going to be backwards to you, but that's Lion Brand Textures. And if you just make a great big rectangle and then sew up the seam to make a poncho. And the reason why this one has been sitting so long, and I am using straight needles for this one, because this yarn is textured, I have a hard time reading my knitting when it's got ribbing on each side. And I keep messing up my ribbing. Now, really, the only person that's going to notice that is me, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But I just get so angry with it that I have quit working on it for a while. Next up is crochet. I have three WIPs in crochet. I did forget one. It's a pair of socks, and it was my first ever crochet socks. I will link that information below in case you want to look at it, but I will try to remember to show that next time. So my first WIP is a narwhal, and this uses the Red Heart amigurumi yarn. It comes in like this little flat cake, and it has enough yarn in here to make two. So what you do is you pop out, like the gray that I used for this one was in the center, you pop it out and cut it off, and then the rest of the yarn will go toward the next narwhal, and he's stripy. So really all I have to make the, what are they called, the fins on the side, and then the horn, which is just a toothpick wrapped in yarn. So that's easy enough too. So again, this one shouldn't take me any time. Because you use a small crochet hook, sometimes it will hurt my hand after a little bit. So I don't work on that often. And then the last crochet project that I have to show you today is a temperature blanket for 2019. I originally started this blanket with hexagons, and then I quickly discovered that it was going to be a little bit more difficult and time consuming to hook them together than what I wanted to put into the project. So I ripped them out, and I'm making diamonds instead. So here's the little diamond. I found this on Pinterest, the pattern. And then so far, I think I have quite a few months. I'm hooked to yarn here, so I have to wind a little bit off so I can show you. I have quite a few months, you know, each diamond represents a day and the high temperature for my town for the day. So the purple ones are the coldest that we had that year. And then these ones are the hottest that we had that year. These was 90-degree days. And we only had 5 90-degree days in my town that year, in 2019. So how I do it is I get a whole entire row, and I think there's 16 across, and then crochet them together. And then when I have them all the rows hooked together, then I will come through and crochet the seams here that need to be crocheted together. And then I may put a border on, and it'll be done. I have about 200 more diamonds to go on that before I finish that off. Okay, so that's all of my whips for crochet and knitting. I will show you cross stitch last, but I'll show you a recent finish in knitting, and it's what I'm wearing. This is a free pattern you can find on Ravelry, and it's called the Reyna, R-E-Y-N-A. I'll have it linked below. And it is a very simple, basic shawl, in my opinion. It's good, I think, if you're just learning lace and you haven't done lace before. And it's a good starter for that. You can learn how to do the yarn overs and keep track of your rows and your stitch marker. You use a stitch marker down the center. And at the very end of mine, my stitch marker got off. I think it got pushed underneath of my yarn over, and when I tried to fix it, I noticed when I cast off that my center line was a little bit off to the side. But again, when you're wearing it, no one's going to notice, so I figured I wasn't going to unknit all of those rows to fix it. So that's a recent finish in knitting. Okay, now on to cross stitching. I have a couple. I'm going to show you 2 recent finishes that I got ready for display. This one is called Snow Delivery, and it's by Stitching with the Housewives. You can find them on YouTube here. They have videos every Saturday. They're called, their YouTube channel is Stitching with the Housewives, but they do have an Etsy shop called Stitching Housewives. They couldn't fit their whole name on there. There's a character limit. This, I did change a little bit, just in the fact of the truck is supposed to be a different color and the hat and the scarf are supposed to be a different color. I just changed it to go with the color theme of the lantern. If the lantern had been white, I probably would have left everything the same because I think the colors were supposed to be blue. So that is Snow Delivery by Stitching with the Housewives. And, oh, and to finish this, what I did was I use felt, and I don't know if it's acid-free, but I'm not really worried about my projects lasting like hundreds of years. So I used felt, and I cut a piece of felt and cardboard, and then I wrapped it around and tried to get my corners as nice as possible, but I find it's really hard. This is 14 count Aida, and it's pretty thick and stiff, so I did find it a little bit difficult, but it's fine for me. And then I cut another piece of cardboard and just wrapped it in green fabric that I found at a local store. And then I just hot glued the full piece to the lantern. And this lantern actually has a fake candle. I did not finish the back. It just has a fake candle that lights up. So I thought that would be really, really cute. It already had some embellishments on it. Good to go. I forgot a knitting whip. I have another sweater. I'm going to bounce to this and then I'll get back to the knitting, or the cross stitch. This is the Zipline sweater by Marie Green of Olive Knits. And I put this in timeout because my, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but my yarn over lace holes here are smaller than here, and I kind of want them to be the same, so I have to rip it back to the ribbing and start over. But this is using this yarn. Again, sorry, I think it's going to be backwards. And you can find, I purchased this from Makers Mercantile online. And if I remember, I will link that for you too, so you can check that out. And I will have Marie Green linked below as well. Okay, so my next ready for display cross stitch is another one by Stitching with the Housewives. This one is a free pattern on their blog, and I will link that below. This is called Chicken Joy. I did the same process to finish this one as I did the snow delivery, and then I just glued it right on that tree. And then what I did, my family said, no, we like it. I was thinking about putting a bow on one of these trees. My family said, no, we like it the way it is. So I kind of left it. But then I was thinking, what if I could find those little tiny fairy lights to mimic? I used beads instead of cross stitches for the lights on the tree. So I went to the store and the day after Christmas to look to see if they had any of those little fairy lights, the little tiny ones. And I did, and then I just kind of looped them around the tops of the trees, and when you turned it on, it was perfect. It was so cute. Okay, finished piece, not yet ready for display, is again by Stitching with the Housewives on 14 count Aida, black. And this is called Chicken Love, and this is also on their blog because it's a freebie. And I haven't got this one finished yet, but I have the most of the supplies. So I'm going to mount it here, and it's going to, you know, be quite small for this board, but that's okay. And then I have these little felt flowers. I'm going to put a couple of them on this side and maybe this side, or along the top or something, but and then this little gingham ribbon. I'm going to make a bow and have that. So this will be finished in a week or so. So that's my plans for that. Okay, now on to cross stitch whips. I will have all of these listed below in the description box. For those that are exclusively online, I will link those. For the other ones that you can get at local needlework shops, I am not going to link those out. I would prefer for you to call a local needlework shop and order from them and support them, especially this year. Which most of these you can actually get from a local needlework shop. So the first one is called, I'll show you what it looks like, Bee Hives Matter by the Nebby Needle. And by the way, if you don't have a needlework shop within driving distance, most of them will work with you and ship your order. So it wouldn't be any different from ordering from an online shop, except for you're supporting a small business instead. So this is what I have done so far. Oops. Let's fold that a little bit better. There's a crease there. So I'm working down the side on that border. I have the top border finished, and then I have the words on the top, and then I'm working on that bee skep right there, beehive. And there's half stitches there in the center. And yeah, that was my first time working half stitches, quarter stitches on linen. This is the called for linen and threads. The threads are Weeks Dye Works and Aghast, Gentle Arts. I don't see where it says 36 count, Picture This Plus in Mellow. The day that I bought the chart from my local needlework shop, I happened to, I was like, I wonder if they have that. And I looked over on their shelf and I saw a piece of yellow sticking out, and I pulled it, and it was the exact size and everything. See, it's already serged. I did not serge the edges, but I just love the yellow modeling on it, and I think it will be great. And I think I might be able to get a couple smalls out of what's left on the margin on the side, so that's pretty great too. That's a good use of some spending money. Use all your scraps. Okay, the next is a Little Halloween Quaker, and this is by Susan Ake for Aurifil, and this you can find on their website, which I will link below. And this is also Picture This Plus linen. I can't remember if it's a 28 or 32 count. I'm using pearl cotton, and pearl cotton is pretty cool. You pull it off the spool and you just use one strand. It is, they say one strand is equal to 2 strands of regular DMC floss. I find that it's a little bit thicker, but if you like full coverage, like this tombstone, if you like full coverage and the fabric to not be showing through, then pearl cotton is great. I did find it a little, I did a couple on 18 count Aida. That was really difficult, but I got the job done. But on 14 count Aida, it's a lot better. So if you like 14 count Aida and you find a pattern that you would like to give a try with some pearl cotton, go for it. Okay, the next one is Starry Night by the Prairie Schooler. There are 7 ornaments in this booklet, and I only have 2 left. I have the Wise Man, and of course it doesn't look like much the way that it sits. And I have the Angel. Again, it doesn't look like much. All I have left to do is the Krynic and the back stitching. The pattern calls for gold or Krynic, number 4 fine braid. This is on 18 count oatmeal Aida, so it is a little bit difficult to accomplish. That's why I have 2 left with Krynic left. And I was running out, so I needed to get another spool, and my LNS was closed for the holidays. So I had to wait until they opened back up. But those shouldn't take, excuse me, those shouldn't take much time. Okay, the next one is Beatitudes by Little House Needleworks. Let me see if I can find the cover sheet. This one's multiple pages, so it was hiding. Okay, so Beatitudes by Little House Needleworks. And I start on the bottom right corner, so I think I started over on this side. And I'm stitching this on 28 count Monaco that I coffee and tea dyed myself. And it is quite dark, but I kind of like it for, well, this is the back. And as you can see, that's kind of dark. I stitched it on the front, which as you can see here, it's a lot lighter. So you're always going to have a light side and a dark side, and you get to choose which one you're going to stitch. So as you can see, I've actually made some great progress. This flower pot I had completely done, and I had to tear it out because I found a mistake when I got completely done. So that part was in timeout. And then I get all the way over here, and I put this in the wrong spot. It's 1 stitch off. So I have to tear that out too. And I believe for this one, I am using the called for threads, I believe. So if you want to look that pattern up and see what those called, it's probably Classic Colorworks because they are owned by them. There's a couple DMC colors and then the rest are Classic Colorworks. So I'm using all the called for on that one because I thought it would be really pretty. I liked the variegation in the threads that she used. And I will show you what they look like. So they are quite messy because I was using them. But here's the Classic Colorworks here on the cards. And then I put my DMC on drops that I made myself. Okay. So that is Beatitudes. Sorry, I'm putting everything back in the bags too, so that way they don't get mixed up, because I have a few here. Okay, the next one is the project that actually got me back into cross stitch. I hadn't cross stitched since I was 18 or so when I lived at home. And I had this particular project, and when I stumbled upon some floss tube videos, and I said, you know what, where's my project? I'm gonna get back into that. Couldn't find it anywhere. Couldn't find it, it's gone. So I went on a hunt on eBay, and I actually found a full kit. It is, do I have the cover photo? Yes. It is by Janlynn. It's a kit. It's called Amazing Grace. And it's stitched on 28 count even weave. And I am using the even weave that came with it and the floss, I think. Yeah, it's inside my pattern. I tucked it inside the pattern so I didn't lose it. So for this one, I actually started on the top left, and I worked myself over this way and started going down the other border. I didn't work on this for very long. I can't anticipate it taking me that long to stitch. It's just, I get squirreled all the time. Squirrel, 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 and I will move on to other projects really quickly. I'm trying to see how I had this folded so I can get it back in the bag. So this is the project that brought me back to cross stitching after so long, and I am excited to get this done, and I will get it finished and hung up. Okay, I'm back. The next one is Vintage Animals by Jeannette Douglas. I saw this one and I was immediately reminded of my grandparents, so I figured I would go ahead and stitch it for them. They are no longer with us. This one uses Gentle Arts, Weeks Dye Works, and Classic Colorworks, but I am doing the DMC conversion. They stitched it on 36 count Legacy linen by Picture This Plus, but I am stitching it on 28 count Dove Gray Monaco. And I knew that I wanted to use this color when I saw it. And I again started in the bottom right corner. I am missing some leaves on that flower because my green that I pulled actually was almost exactly the same color as the stem, and they're supposed to be different. But I stitched over, and I got a rabbit and a little hedgehog, and his head is 1/1, and it was my first time doing 1/1, so I'm super proud of myself for getting that accomplished. The flowers on this one, well, besides the big ones on the side, the other flowers are 2 shades of blue, and I actually thought that was pretty cool that they were blue because my grandma's favorite color was blue. So I thought that was kind of fitting to have her favorite color in there. I put all of my DMC on this thread card that I had in my stash. And as you can see, I do save my scraps up at the top. But these are all of the colors. This pattern, because of the DMC conversion and the original using overdyed floss, they have you blend some of your threads, and I kind of decided not to do that. I liked the colors as they were by themselves, so I'm not blending anything. So some of that blue flower was supposed to be blended with a teal color, and I decided not to do that, which is okay. I can do what I want. It's mine. I can make decisions. Okay, the next one is Let's Talk Autumn by Hands On Design, and I am actually I did the it comes with 3 pieces. I've done 2. One is in my finished pile, but this one is still in my bag. And this is called, this is Hello Autumn, and this is to be finished in a 4-inch hoop. However, I stitched mine on 28 count black Monaco, and I believe she used 32 count. Yes, she used 32 count linen. So mine's not quite going to fit, but that's okay. I can either finish it in a bigger hoop, or I can find a different way to finish it. So then this is the medium size one that Kathy, the designer, finished in a pillow. And I started, let's see, I started in the bottom right again. I love starting in the bottom right and working to the left and up. Like kind of gradiating out from that corner. So I haven't gotten very much done on that, but I started this one after fall, when winter was already kind of on its way. So I decided it could wait until next year. I don't have the other two ready for display yet anyway. I am using the called for colors, and I just love how the oranges and the green and the teal they all go together so perfectly. I love that color palette. And of course they are all tangled. They are not pretty, and that's what happens when you use your threads. Did I say earlier that I use the loop method? So when I pull one off, sometimes the threads can get a little bit messy, but I don't mind it because I find that it helps me keep my back a little bit tidier. I'm not one that thinks that my back needs to be perfect because I don't have time for all of that. But it does help keep it a little bit on the tidier side. Okay, the next one is a free pattern I found on creating, Charting Creations, oh shoot, I forgot the name. Let's see if I have it on my list. Charting Creations is the designer. She has lots and lots of full coverage pieces that she gets licenses from artists to convert them into cross stitch. So check her out because they're pretty cool, especially if you like to stitch full coverage pieces. This is not necessarily a full coverage piece. I am stitching this on a wine colored, it's like Lugana, but it's 20 count instead of like a 28 count or a 32 count. It's like Balana. It's got a different name to it. I looked it up. I received a whole box full of fabric from a destashing group, and it was just chock full of amazing fabric, and this piece was in it, and I didn't know what on earth I would use with this, but when I found the heart silhouette, I thought, well, that'll be great on there. And it's a pretty large pattern anyways, but being stitched on this 20 count, two strands over 2, it's going to make it that much larger. So this is what I have done so far. I have just over 2 pages and working on the second and the third one, or in the middle row. I think there's 3 rows of pages, and I got the bottom 2, the point of the heart done, and then I started working up from there. So I've got some great progress. And I'm just using, what do I got here? Anchor, and it's 2. Which is, I think, the same as Blanc or B5200 in DMC. I can't exactly remember. I was going to use the B5200 for this one, but then I quickly realized I'm stitching on such a different count fabric than the designer. I was going to use much more than the 7 skeins that she called for in this. So I switched it for the anchor because I had a whole bunch of that in my stash. I have it in my stash because I intended to do a different project, and I still want to do that project, but it's going to be redone, restarted in a different way. And when I finally get around to doing that, I will show you. So that was Heart Silhouette. Okay, this bag has all of these project bags so far I made myself. I am not a sewist. I am horrible at it. I'm a complete novice. I don't know how to use my sewing machine to the best use of it, but I was able to get the job done. You don't want to see them up close because it's pretty bad. They have stayed together so far, so I'm actually quite impressed with myself, but at the same time, nobody wants to see it. Okay, so in this project bag, I have some Prairie Schooler Halloween charts. I love Prairie Schooler. So there's 5 of them, but I have one done already, so it's been put back into my stash of where I keep my charts. So I have 4 more I'm working on. The first one I'll show you is Double Double. And it's just this little chart. The designer behind Prairie Schooler, stitched so many things on 32 count lamb's wool. I am stitching it on 14 count white Aida, and I saw someone stitching this on 25 count Lugana and white Lugana, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's so pretty. The colors just pop on it. I am using 2 strands, so you do see some of the fabric behind it, but I'm okay with that too. So this one I am probably more than 3/4 done with, and I could probably finish that in just in a weekend. So I should probably get back to these two. But as you can see, I have a couple of whips, so I have a plan, and I will talk to you about that. I am not necessarily using the called for. I am using, she calls for 3371, which is a brown black. It's really deep brown. For the orange, 921 in DMC, and then there's a gray in this one for the smoke. I already have a gray that color, an anchor one, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. I'm using 310 and the called for 921 DMC, which is in the orange color. So I just switched the brown black out for the straight black because I prefer that a little bit better, or a little bit more. Okay, the next one is Misfortune. This one didn't get as much work done on it as Double Double, but I did make some good progress. I started these in May for Stitch Mania this past year in 2020. It was my first Mania, first time participating in that. I started 26 projects, and I have all of them done except for the 2 Starry Night ornaments from Prairie Schooler and these 4. So 6 out of 26. So that's not that bad. Okay, so the next one has about the same amount of progress done on it as Misfortune. This one calls for DMC 898 for that brown. So it's the black is actually the 3371, which is brown black, and then 898 for the brown color. I really didn't like that one, and I know a lot of people say don't change the colors on Prairie Schooler. I decided to just do it all in black and have it just be this one, you know, just kind of like what you would see if you were walking through. So this is Who's Who, or Who's There by Prairie Schooler. So I'm doing mine all black. Again, I think that's what the person that I saw do it on the 25 count white Lugana, I think she did it that way too. However, she used 3371. Okay, the last one is Knock Knock, and I don't really know if you can call this a start. I know some people have differing opinions of that. Look at my Ada is still super thick because that's all I got done. I think what happened was I felt that I was going to run out of DMC 310 because this is all I have left. That's all I have left. From the batch that I bought to start all 5 of these with. The other one that I did was Night Flight, and it took a whole bunch of floss. It took a bunch of floss. And so I thought, okay, since I only have a tiny start on this one, I will save this one for last. And then if I have to get more DMC 310, then I will. And then if there's a dye lot issue, which I mean, it's black, but just in case there was a dye lot issue, it wouldn't make that much of a difference because I hardly had any done. And if it was really bad, then I could just rip out that one little tiny square and start it over, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Okay, so that's some more Prairie Schoolers. Now this bag is not made by me. It is super cute. It is made by Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. She uses lace there as a little accent. And I saw this barn and I just thought it was so cute and I had to have it. And she used that same fabric on the back. I've actually been stalking her Etsy shop for the last couple of weeks. Oh, my shawl's falling off. For a new one. But I know she was busy during Christmas and she had 2 projects that she wanted to get done by the end of 2020, and she was working really, really hard at getting those done. So I will continue to wait. Okay, so this one is Words to Live by the Tiny Modernist. I do not have a cover photo because I bought a PDF version of this one. And so if I can figure out on my very first video here how to insert a photo, I will insert a photo here. This is what I have done so far. I started in the top left and I got that block done. And I went down and finished that block and then that block. And then I came back up and I worked on that block. And this block is not quite done. The center of all the little flowers on the top and the center flower down on the bottom they need their little centers. I need some more leaves on the bottom, and there's some back stitching for the green as well. But I did start the border on the inside. It's 12 blocks all the way around the outside, and then there's a big 2x2 block in the middle. I did start the border on that because I was avoiding the back stitching. I know it. This is the color palette. It is very, oops, it's so messy. It's very bright and colorful, all very bright colors. I kind of put them on here in a rainbow pattern because that's kind of how I roll. So that's that. You can find that on her website, but I think I'm going to have her linked below because, or maybe not, because you can get that from your local Needleworks shop if you want to get it. Okay, this last one I'm going to show you is, well, I'll tell you about my plans first and how that was going to work for 2021. I'm not usually a plan type person, but I did notice that I had a lot more cross stitch whips than what I thought I did, and it kind of makes me nervous sometimes, so I kind of want to work through these. I did this a couple years ago, not this exact process, but cleaning out of my whips with my crochet and knitting, and I just worked really hard for the first couple of months of the year, and I knocked out all of my whips, and I had 0. I got them all done, and then I was able to start fresh, and I felt a little bit better. And not that it necessarily stresses me out, but I feel bad that I have put spending money and resources into these things, and if I don't get them done, I just feel bad about it. So I want to use the money that I get each month to the best of its ability. So that's just me. So I am going to try to work through these whips this year. So what I did is on January 3rd, I had created a little wheel on my phone. There's several apps out there. I tried one app. I couldn't figure it out, so I got rid of that app and tried another one and created a wheel and put all of my whips on there. And so on January 3rd, I spun a wheel. Oh, I actually have one more whip over there like staring at me, so I'll grab that too. I spun the wheel and came up with words to live by. So that's how I got that 4th block done, because I worked on that and my last whip at the same time. To this morning before church, I spun the wheel again and came up with this one. So this is going to be the 2 focus pieces of the week are going to be my next one and this one. So this is Words to Live By. It's by Joyful Expressions. I will have them linked below because I do believe that they're only online and they sell off their own website. It's a PDF. It comes charted in 3 different shades of a color. They give you 2 options, like a mauve and a blue. And to fit in our house with the decor that we're going with, I went with the teals. The light shade is actually in a different color family than the 2 darker ones. But the lighter one, my husband, my daughter, and myself were all in the store together picking out what color we wanted to make this chart. But the lighter one to us looked exactly like this one. That we couldn't, with our eyes, we couldn't see a difference. So my husband picked this one. So even though it's technically out of a different color family, we liked the way that it went. And then as you can see, when I have it stitched up here, I have all 3 colors on here already. You can't really tell that it's from the different color family. So this is what I'm going to be stitching on this week along with my next whip. I have to grab it really quickly because it's a little bit on the big side and it's over there. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I am in a cross stitch group for residents of the state that I live in, Michigan, and on one of our Zoom meetings, there was quite a few of us that were saying that we wanted to stitch this piece, but we were kind of afraid because it was so big. So I said, well, why don't we do this together so that way, at least we know we won't be alone and we can work on it. And it is Pandemic by Long Dog Samplers. And we did a January 1st start. However, if you were already working on it, they were more than welcome to join us. If you are working on this, comment below. I would love to hear how many of you are stitching this piece, your progress. I would love to hear about it. But so far I have completed 1 1/4 pages. I am almost finished with this big diamond. I just have a couple of the flowers over here and it will be complete. I'm saving all of the back stitching for last because it's so large. There's 20 pages in this chart. I want to wait until in some of the areas, I think it kind of looks like a quilt and it doesn't need back stitching, but I think I'm going to do it just because it was charted that way. So we're stitching that together. Like I said, we started at January 1st and I have put in 2 skeins already, and my goal is about 7 strands of DMC. I'm using DMC 915. I bought a spool off of Joann's because you need a lot. I'm stitching it on 28 count Monaco. It's either antique white or antique ivory. I think that, or antique white or ivory. I got them both in the same shipment and not in like tubes or anything that they come in now. I got it from a online retailer, and they just random cuts that she had in her shop. So since they came in together, they're so similar in shade that I don't know which one I'm stitching on, but I don't really care. I was going to actually coffee and tea dye it, but my family said that they liked it that way for this piece, and my husband actually picked the DMC 915. I had chosen I had it narrowed down to 2 shades, 2 colors, and he chose that one because he said it was different. I was almost going to go with a teal similar to His Name is Jesus, but he said, no, this will complement that, and since it's so large. So that you'll see my progress go along with that. Okay, so I have had a couple purchases since Christmas. I always get spending money for Christmas, which is great because I can, kind of knock off some of those wish list items that I've been wanting. So I've gotten some items. I did purchase 2 knitting patterns. They are both from Cozy Up Knits, and you can find them on Ravelry. I bought their Joe's Perfect Slipper Socks and Katie's Shawl, and I will be starting Katie's Shawl soon, but I just realized that I have another knitting whip downstairs by my chair and I forgot to grab it. As soon as I'm done with that scarf, then I will be starting the Katie Shawl. I'm hoping to have some white left over to go with that. If not, I'll just buy another skein. And then I bought 2 more cross-stitch patterns from Stitching with the Housewives. They were having a sale, so of course I'm like, yeah, I got some spending money. I'm gonna go ahead and get some. I bought Hello Pumpkin and Gobble Gobble. So in case you're interested, you can go ahead and look them up on Etsy. And then yesterday, I went to my local Needleworks shop. They're only about 10-15 minutes away from me, so I'm completely blessed. I bought the roll of Krynic that I needed to finish. It's number 4 braid, and it's color 002. And I hope that's the right one. The other one is somewhere. I hope that's right. I couldn't find it online anywhere, and I forgot to take my pattern with me, so I just guessed. And then I bought 3 more patterns to go in my stash. Little House Needleworks, all doweled up. Doweled? Did I say that right? Doweled up. And I decided that I wanted to do a bee theme in our kitchen. We haven't ever really done anything, no decorating or anything in the kitchen. And I thought bees would be cute, so that's hence the Bee Hives Matter. And then this one, I also have another one or 2 in my stash that need to be stitched up. So again, I need to get these ones done so that way my whip's done so I can start some new ones. Okay, also from Little House Needleworks, this I believe was one of their first releases, button thread packs. She comes out with thread packs a lot. She'll release a chart with all the threads. And the lady at my local needlework shop, she said that she thought that all of these were individual pieces, and then she put them all as one big piece. That was what she was recalling. She's been in the business for a long time. I just started about 1.5 years ago, so I'm not sure. But that's Little House Needleworks. And then Plum Street Samplers really got me this year with their fall releases. So I got one of them she had already sold out on, a couple I passed on, but this was the one that she had in stock, and it's called Rest a While. And I just love the fox, the leaves, and the acorns, so I had to get it. So right now I don't have any of the threads for these. Well, I didn't purchase the threads that were called for. The All Dolled Up calls for DNC, so I might be able to pull those from Stash. Sometimes I will actually pull from Stash if it's like a freebie from the internet or something. I will just pull threads and fabric and make it my own. I don't really change the colors. I just use what I already have, because I do try to stretch my budget because I only get a very small amount for spending each month. And as you can see, I have 3 different hobbies here. So spreading that money around can be a little bit difficult, especially, you know, for cross stitch, you need to, and the others too, you need to buy the pattern, then you need to buy the supplies. Cross stitch, you have to buy, you know, the fabric and the floss. So it can be a little pricey. So I do try to use my stash floss as much as I can. I also bought this, and it's 3772, because this is called for in the vintage animals to go inside of those big flowers on the side. And this is a little bit more brown than what I was thinking it was going to be. I do have, I think, a 3772 in Beatitudes, and it's more pink. However, I don't want to run out and not have the right shade for Beatitudes either. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I do have 3773, which is a pink color. I have that in my stash, and I may use that. I don't know. I'm, you know, gonna check on it. So I just wanted to encourage you that if you also don't have a huge spending budget per month or per year, however you know, per week, however you do it, don't feel discouraged that you can't participate in these crafts. You just may have to do it a little bit at a time. Like I bought these 3 patterns, and I'm gonna get I have a nice size fabric stash, but that was one thing. It was partly because I was gifted that big box. And then I'll get the floss later. Okay, sorry about that. So what I was saying is that I just try to spread my budget out and pull from stash as I can. Even in my knitting and crochet, I try to be very frugal with my money, my spending, and use what I can. So last year, and it started in 2019 and went through October of 2020, was how I got this yarn. It was a yarn club, a 12-month yarn club. You could cancel any time, but if you stayed in the whole entire 12 months and you got a prize, a bonus prize. So I really wanted the bonus prize. The colorways were all, it was called the Quotable Dumbledore Club by Lolo Did It. And so I wanted to see what those were about, and I wanted to get them. So I can't remember the color name on this one, but this is one of those colorways out of her club. So that basically took all of my spending money for 2020. So I wasn't able to purchase a lot of cross stitch supplies. So I, excuse me, I did use a lot of freebie charts that you can get online at the designers' websites. So don't be discouraged if you also don't have a big budget. You can still participate. If you have questions about kind of how I do things, I mean, I don't have a big system, but I can, you know, I can chat with you about that if you want to chat. But other than that, I just try to be very frugal and mindful of what I'm purchasing, and I don't really buy charts unless I absolutely want to stitch them, and I will stitch them all. I don't have a big stash because I purchase and stitch and purchase and stitch. So I think that's all for today. Thank you for bearing with me and getting through all of these videos. I'm having issues with my iPad, but maybe that will work out for next week. And I hope that you saw something you like, and I kept you entertained for a little while today, and I hope that the rest of your day goes very well and you have a good day for the rest of the week. And I think I might be back every 2 weeks, so that way I have some progress to show you. Maybe every week, but more like every 2 weeks, just so that way I have something to show. Okay, so I'm going to sign off now. Have a great day, and I hope to see you again. Bye.